Hello everyone, I am just going to give you a quick little run through as to what Visible Body includes. So when you first log into your account, they did set up a sample of a AMP course, but we can of course use these within our biology course and then use components of it for our prospective AMP courses. So I'm just going to click into the first semester here, and they've divided it up into folders where you can use some guided notes. This is just a draft here that will download, and let's see if I can pull this up for you to view. But we can always create accounts for you to explore this further. There's a lot of questions here in which students can answer and you can discuss in class. You can have a PowerPoint that works with these guided outlets, and then there are some quizzes in here that you can explore, and I want to open one up that has a lab. So here is egg osmosis, so you can click into that lab and it gives you the steps as to how to do that lab. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So it goes through and tells you what to expect in the experiment, the required materials, the procedure, how to set it up, and then as we continue on down, it gives you information on a data analysis and some more charts to fill out and so forth. So there's some labs in here that we can incorporate into the biology course. There are also a lot of different games incorporated in here. So if I click into cell membrane, we can play the cell transport video game. So if I click on here and click on the video game assignment, we get into this website called Bioman, and we can start a new game, and it kind of talks you through the full process. So I'm going to say build a membrane, and I'm just clicking through quickly here for the sake of time. Wow, the music's kind of loud. So it says that a part of the membrane has been destroyed, and then so students can take their time in building the membrane. And before they start, I'm just going to bring this volume down. Okay, that didn't work, but they can build their own membrane, and then they will test it. They're timed as well, so whoops, I did that wrong. They're timed as well, so they have to, it's kind of a game, they have to build it in time or else their cell is going to lyse. So they kind of start to understand the principles and components of the plasma membrane. Got two more to go here to make sure that we got a nice strong cell membrane. There we go. My membrane is ready and everything is working properly. So then the game continues on and you move to the next step. So you would work with cholesterol. So I think that does a good job of kind of going through and making it a bit more fun to understand the components of a cell membrane. And students would also have access to 3 different apps on either their phones or their iPads, or they can still access it online here. I'm still learning how to go through all of this, but you would go over to this My Apps tab, and then they can go through and click on any of the apps. I'm just going to show you on my iPad how this would work. So this is a view of my iPad, and I don't know if I can make this bigger, but we'll just work with this right now. So we have the 4 different apps. My favorite, of course, is the Anatomy Atlas. And here you can go through different regions of the body, or you can divide it into different systems, as we see here, endocrine system, lymphatic system, and so forth. And then you can go into a gross anatomy lab style where you can have either a prone or supine cadaver laying on a gurney, and you can even dissect and get rid of certain muscles, certain nerves. You can zoom in here. You can get the full 3-dimensionality of this cadaver laying on the gurney. If you want to look at this in a supine position, you just hit the supine tab and it flips the cadaver over. So we'll go back to the prone position. There's also notes here as to information on certain structures that you tap. So the one that we dissected away was trapezius, but let's say I'm interested in rhomboid major. So if I tap that, then it changes the information on rhomboid major to discuss that. It also includes pathology information. So here's one on muscular dystrophy, and then we can also hit that speaker button in order for the app to pronounce the word. Ooh, I'm trying to get my volume up here so that it can say it. I don't know if it'll work. Okay, so it's not going to work for me in this screencast, but it does it. So you can also hit this pin button where it'll show you all the origins and insertions of this muscle. You could see if you tap each of those pins, it will tell you what that is. We can also read about blood supply and see the blood supply would be your dorsal scapular artery, which is highlighted in the teal or blue. There we are. We can look at the innervation here, which is the dorsal scapular nerve, and other details all kind of put together. So the other thing I really liked about this is you can do augmented reality. So you are in my dining room right now, and if I just tap, maybe if I go down like this, if I tap an area, okay, so here is my cadaver, you can say, and if I just want to go into augmented reality, so this is my dining room here, and I have the actual cadaver in front of me, and I can spin him around to look at all the muscles. I can take certain layers off, so if I wanted to get rid of pectoralis major to see what lies deep, I can also make him or her larger, and if I move toward there, I can actually go through the muscle. So now I am in the thorax and looking at the vertebral column. I can look up, look down, and so forth. I can go through the diaphragm and look in the abdominal region right now. And there I can see iliopsoas. If I want to go through there, there's my os coxa, and we're now moving towards the hip joint. Pretty neat. So I'll fully pull out just to show you another system. We can take away the muscular system, and I can even take away all of the bones, and we could just look at the cardiovascular system here. So whatever you don't want, you can also, I believe, customize this, but I can take certain vessels away. So if I just tap them, I can just hit hide and have them disappear. I can look at the heart. I can either walk around or I can spin the heart around, or rather the whole body. And if I wanted to take a look inside the heart, I can move closer and look at the different chambers of the heart. But if I don't want to move, I can, of course, just tap that and hide or fade certain areas. So we just got rid of the pericardium. Now we're going to get rid of the myocardium, and you can see the ventricles beautifully here. So I can also tap up here, and we can now get a superior view that past all these vessels of the tricuspid valve. So let's say I wanted to look at the veins here. I can also add those in, or I can take away the arteries and just look at the veins. We can take all of that away, and we can look at the nervous system. So we've got all the nerves in place here. We can look at our spinal cord. With that, I like how they show the actual nerve fibers moving on up. We can also look at our digestive system. So here you can see that it is a very superficial view, but we can get rid of that peritoneum. We can get rid of the greater omentum, and we can take a look at, let's say we want to look inside the stomach. We can go through and see all of the rugae. So I think these would be fun activities for students in class, and you can kind of have them on a scavenger hunt to find certain structures. We can add lymphatic system in here as well, endocrine system with all of our different endocrine glands. What else do we have in here? We can also add our ligaments. So you can see all the ligaments are in place here. And skin, of course. So then if you don't want this augmented reality, you just untap that button and you can now look at all the structures just on your iPad by utilizing your fingers to move it around. You can see all the ligaments in place, ligamentum nuchae here. If we want to look at the brain a little bit further, we can pull the dura mater out of the way and we can look and study all of the different lobes and different essential gyri. Let's see, we hide another layer of that. And we could go in, and I think this is really helpful for some of the other structures that are a little bit hard to grasp in three-dimensional view. So we can hide some of these in order to see going from lateral to medial the different structures until you get to something that almost all of our A&P courses talk about, or biology courses like the thalamus. Awesome. So the other thing we have in here are cross sections. So all of those are in here. We also have some microanatomy, and these are also models that can be placed in front of them. So if we are studying bone, we can go through and look here, or we can put this model right in front of them for them to study as augmented reality. So this model is now right here. I can make it bigger or smaller, move it around, and so forth. So we'll go back. And then we also have muscle actions. I think this is really neat to see as well. What do we mean by, neck and head flexion? And it actually shows the movements and some of the muscles involved in that. We can go back, shoulder abduction. What's all that about? And we've got it right there. So in here, we can also assign quizzes, or they have quizzes set up already. So you can manipulate those. There are tours that you can create by putting certain frames together. You can also tag favorites, or the student can rather, and there's also note cards. So this is one that I was just testing out here for trapezius, but they can save those on their own, or you can save it in order to talk about certain structures. So this is once again another one I was doing when I was testing it out. One of the other apps you get with this is one that is devoted to muscle alone. So it's pretty similar to the atlas. I would just use the atlas itself, but it goes into a bit more detail of isolating the muscle structures. You can search the muscle index for whatever muscle you are looking for, and so forth. So I won't spend too much time on that since you saw that in the atlas. This A&P, this A&P app also has more videos that you can assign, and it goes through just a bit more on physiology. So they can read about each of the different structures. Let's go back to a more interesting area. So here's a video on cells and tissues. And I apologize, I don't know why the volume is not working. But you can utilize those to have students kind of pre-prepare for class. So they've selected this based on mostly systems. So you can see endocrine system here and so forth. There are checklists that you can go through to make sure that students complete certain objectives, and also practice quizzes that you can assign. And the last app is our Physiology Animations. So I think in the 2019 version, there are going to be a lot more videos in here, but you can assign these videos as well. This is just an example here. And for some reason, it is not popping up. in connection with my laptop here to show you all. But you can get an idea for the types of videos that they have here, and they also have some videos on pathology.